Well, we know that the season to get ready for the midterm elections is really already on. I don't even know when they end running for the next one. Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman has a warning for his fellow Democrats in the midterms.
My party is acting in a way they have forgotten. They have forgotten one of the reasons why we lost in 2024. Some of the most extreme things were weaponized against that. And now some people think now we have to double down on those things, or we must become more progressive or more extreme. That's absolutely not true. We are living in the backlash of a lot of the things and the mistake that we have made as a party.
Wow. I mean, that guy just knows how to say it. Just say it. I don't think they listen to him on the left, though. A recent Washington Examiner column with this: anger, lack of leadership, and unpopularity plague the Democrat Party. Power panel now: Mehek Cooke, attorney and RNC surrogate; Meghan Hays, former Biden director of message planning. Great to see you both. Mehek, I'm going to start with you. You hear Senator Fetterman there, and he's giving an honest assessment of his own party. I say I doubt they listen.
Harris, you nailed it. Look, I think America has hit a tipping point today. Live free or die. Choose America or radicalism. And the light in the Democrat Party today is John Fetterman. He is specifically telling the radical left and Democrats today, if you continue to double down on failing policies that led you to 2024, then you're going to continue to lose the majority in 2026. And that's exactly where Democrats are today. And when it mattered most, that tipping point that I just talked about, Democrat Kathy Hochul endorses Mamdani. She specifically endorses a man that wants to defund the police, abolish ICE. They continue to sow recklessness and chaos. And I have a question for Democrats today. What does Kathy Hochul and Mamdani say to Chandra, who was beheaded by a machete? Do you now support these reckless policies and sanctuary cities in Dallas, Texas, and across America when President Trump is delivering a gold standard, a place where you can bring back civility and common sense through the D.C. blueprint in every single one of these blue cities?
Look, I will add to some of what you're saying. You've got Zohran Mamdani here and the person they call the Midwest Mamdani in Minneapolis, Omar Fattah, who's running, who's a communist. I mean, there's no way around these things, right? So, Meghan, what do you do with these people in your party when some of those who are seen as the establishment, like a Kathy Hochul, governor of New York, say, yeah, I'm with you?
Well, I think it's different for what happens in New York City, and what's going to win there is not what's going to win in the other battleground states for presidential, which John Fetterman was speaking towards. He wants the Democrats to get back to talking about affordability and the cost of health care and the cost of groceries, which President Trump is performing extremely low on. The polling has him at 30% approval rating on those issues. So Democrats, if we could stay united and really talk about the messaging that matters to all Americans, which is the economy and how they feel at the end of every month and when they're paying their bills, I think that Democrats can reunite and reinvigorate themselves and take back the House in 2026 and have a good chance going into 28.
But do you want a guy like Mamdani on your team? I mean, look, he wants to. It's communism. I think socialism is too soft a word. It's going to feel really oppressive when you start to governmentalize, if you will, the grocery stores. I mean, they can't get right just how to live normally in a city run by Democrats. And now you want to take up the ante and turn it communist? I mean, are those the people you want in your party?
So unfortunately, I'm a moderate Democrat, as you know, we've talked about all the time, and that's not who I would vote for as mayor if I lived in New York City. But we live in a democracy and we live in free elections. So people, if that's who they want, they can vote for him. What bothers me about Kathy Hochul endorsing is she didn't do it out of principle, but now it just seems disingenuous to do it now. Whether or not she agrees with him or not, it seems very politically motivated to endorse him at this late stage in the game. Because it's what do you do? Like, why didn't you do it earlier? So that's my question, sort of why she endorsed. It seems very political and disingenuous. But I do think Democrats, if you stick to an affordability message, will resonate in those states that Senator Fetterman was speaking about.
Well, you speak the truth on that. You know, the politics being played. New York Governor Kathy Hochul posted this as she finally endorsed Mamdani. New York City deserves a mayor who will stand up to Donald Trump and make life more affordable for New Yorkers. President Trump then posted this in response. Governor Kathy Hochul of New York has endorsed the little communist Zohran Mamdani running for mayor of New York. This is a rather shocking development and a very bad one for New York City. How can such a thing happen? Washington will be watching this situation very closely. No reason to be sending good money after bad. And New York Republicans echo the president's sentiment.
The reality is Kathy Hochul owns Zohran Mamdani's position to defund the police, to abolish our law enforcement, to abolish prisons, to abolish private health care insurance, to decriminalize sex workers. It is outrageous. She is so petrified of her far left that she is bending the knee to this communist. She owns him lock, stock, and barrel.
Well, the support for Mamdani comes after a Democrat senator went after New York colleagues for not endorsing him.
Many Democratic members of the Senate and House representing New York have stayed on the sidelines. That kind of spineless politics is what people are sick of. They need to get behind him and get behind him now.
Mehek, excuse me.
Look, Karis, I think it's the say no evil, see no evil, and speak no evil. And today, the American people are saying, we want you to call out evil. And what Democrats are doing are continuing to double down. The fact that they cannot see that a socialist can take over New York, I understand it's an election, but this is a tipping point for Americans today. If New York can go socialist and radical, then so can America, because that is our financial center. Everything that Kathy Hochul says. I don't believe in moderate Democrats today. I'm sorry, Harris, because if you're a moderate Democrat, then you should be joining the Republican Party, because we're not for defunding the police. We stand with ICE. We stand with law and order. And by the way, we're not going to be able to afford anything if we can't make it to the grocery store. So every single person that wants to be a moderate today, there's no moderate Democrats. It's all about the Republican Party versus the radical left.
All right, I want to give you a chance because I felt like that was a call out. You said you're a moderate Democrat. Meghan. I
just disagree. I don't think that people should not have health care, and I think that the wealthy people should be paying their fair share. I don't believe in socialism. I don't believe in defunding the police. So I do think that there is a middle ground here, and I think that's part of the problem we're having in our country right now is most of the people are in the middle, and we're being held hostage on both sides by the extremes. And I think if we learned how to work together, we could actually do some really great things like some Congress is doing.
Those are some tough words, Democrats being held hostage in the center. You just have to vote. And not for Mamdani, but we'll see what they do in New York. Great to see you both. Thank you. Outnumbered after the break.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kayleigh McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.